So let us now begin with the next chapter, which is 4.2, the storyteller. So in this particular chapter, first we shall be discussing with the warming up question and answers. So warming up tells us little shortly about what the lesson is about, what you are going to study in the lesson. The first activity here is short stories are of many types. Match the type of story in column A with its description in column B. So today, this particular unit in this particular chapter, it is a short story. So there are many types of short stories and a list of their descriptions is given in this particular column. So we are going to match which particular type of story matches which description. For example, the first one here is anecdote. The story type is anecdote. The answer to this is it is a short amusing account of an incident. So the story type, if it is anecdote, then it is short amusing account of an incident. So the B is fable. The type of story is fable. So fable is a story, a moral bearing story with animal characters. So when we were very small, you used to hear Aesop fables. So in Aesop fables, there were stories which were related with animals, maybe a bull and a cat, a dog and an elephant, an ant and a lion, such kind of stories. Next is a parable. So in a parable, the story is having a religious base and a message or moral. So in parable stories, short stories, there is some religious base. Maybe there is a conversation between a god and a follower. Maybe in the dream he sees something related with the god. So there is god element. Okay, there is god element in it. Next is the myth. So myth are short stories originated in ancient times, authorship unknown. So myths are those stories which are passed from one generation to the another, but we do not know whom the story belongs to, or who wrote the story, or the story is related with what, but we keep on hearing them. Next is the fifth. The short stories type is legend. Legend is a story having historical base. Characters may not be true. So in a legend, you may hear about short stories which have a historical base. Historical means maybe a story during the times of Shivaji Maharaj or Alexander the Great, such kings. But the characters which are present in the story may not be true. Means not all the characters, just 10 or 20% of the characters may not be true. Next is a fairy tale. So fairy tale is a story where having supernatural characters a moral for children. So fairy tales are those short stories which have fairies and demons and such kind of stories. This is known as a supernatural character. Supernatural means who have supernatural powers. They do not exist, but there is a moral for children. So there are stories which have fairies, okay, fairies in them, ghosts in them, gods in them, and there is a moral for children at the end. Next is the tragic tale. So tragic tale is a story where there is a serious end in a tragedy. So in this type of short story, there is not a happy ending, there is a sad ending, serious ending in the story. Next type of short story is fiction. In fiction, there are untrue but realistic. Untrue events, but they are put forth in a realistic manner. Means when you are learning, when you are studying about the short stories, when you are discussing about the short stories, they feel that they are untrue, but they are somewhere realistic, based on real events, but in an untrue manner. Next is a farce. So farce is a short story with exaggerated comedy. Exaggerated means too much comedy. So there is some serious topic which has to be put forth in front of the children, but the method, the way it is in a exaggerated comedy, means too much of comedy in a comical manner, making fun of. Next is a satire. So in satire, there are where vices and folly are ridiculed. So satire is a short story type where there is a serious topic and the fun of that serious topic is made again and again. This is known as satire. Now, I hope all of you have cleared your doubts regarding the story types and descriptions. Let us move on to the next activity, which is complete the following story using the verbs in the brackets in their correct form. So there is a short story named as Footprint, and there are some blank spaces given to you. You have to complete the following story. So one night a man, there is a blank space, have a dream. So here you have to use the correct form of the verb. Maybe now you have studied participles where you have to write to the particular verb, means it becomes participles. Then there is an ing form, then there is an ed form. In such a manner you have to complete this particular type of story. One night a man had a dream. So this is the correct method of actually completing this particular story. Now let us try to complete the story. One night a man had a dream. He dreamt that he was walking along the beach with God. Across the sky flashed scenes from his life. For each scene, he noticed two sets of footprints in the sand. One belonged to him and other to God. So as you clearly see, what I have done is actually written the correct form of the verb. That is the proper form. If you have studied forms of verbs, so there is a particular verb where you add to, the infinitive to the verb. Then there is an ing form. Then there is past participle where you add ed. Then there is the fourth form where ed is removed and t is put. So this is known as forms of verbs. So in the similar manner, we have to try to complete the entire story. See here now. After the last scene, blank space there is flashed, he looked back at the footprints in the sand. So the correct answer to this is after the last scene had flashed. So let us move. After the last scene had flashed, he looked back at the footprints in the sand. So the correct verb form of flash is had flashed. He observed that many a times along the path of his life there was only one set of footprints, and that it happened at the saddest, most troubling times of his life. So question might be arising in your mind, why would sir use here was when here the verb form is given be? So when you have studying verb forms, be becomes was or were or is, that is the infinitive. Let us move to the next one. He questioned God about it. God, you said, now say became here said, once I decided to follow you, you would walk with me all the way. So will became would, that is the past participle. So I don't understand why you left me alone when I needed you the most. So need became here needed. God replied, during your times of trials and sufferings, where you saw, see became saw, only one set of footprints, they were. So be, as I already told, that the past form of be becomes was or were, will or would in the similar manner. So be becomes were. Mine, for it was then that I carry became carried you in my arms. So here is the correct way of using the verbs or the verb forms, also known as participles. And let us move on to the chapter. Now let us begin with the story, the storyteller. So the storyteller is a person who narrates a particular type of story. So it was a hot afternoon and the railway carriage was correspondingly sultry, and the next stop was at the Temple Combe, nearly an hour ahead. So sultry here means hot. That the person, the narrator, was traveling through a train, and where he was traveling, that was a very hot afternoon. The entire climate of that particular place was very hot, and while he was traveling in that hot afternoon, he felt that the railway carriage, the bogie in which he was sitting, was equally hot. And the next stop was at Temple Combe, a particular place, and which was nearly an hour ahead. So he wanted to go to a particular place which was already he was already late. The occupants of the carriage were a small girl and a smaller girl and a small boy. So we can say that three sisters, brother and sisters, or a family was traveling, where there was a small girl and a little younger girl than that small girl and a small boy, maybe of the same age of the small girl. Their aunt occupied one corner seat, and the further corner seat on the opposite side was occupied by a bachelor who was a stranger to their party, but the small girls and the small boy emphatically occupied the compartment. So bachelor here is a person who is unmarried. Okay, a person who is unmarried is known as a bachelor. He was a complete stranger to that particular family. Okay, but somehow the children didn't find him, that he was not in their what is a family. They felt as if he was one of them, and they didn't bother him. Both the aunt and the children were conversational in a limited, persistent way, reminding one of the attentions of a housefly that refuses to be discouraged. So, usually, when there are small children in a particular family, when they are talking, they are not affected by the people around them. They are talking with each other, they are having a small conversation with each other, but it is limited. Means the children are asking the questions and maybe the aunt is answering, or there are just movements of their head or only movements of their eyes. Most of the aunt's remarks seem to begin with don't, and nearly all the children's remarks begin with why. The bachelor said nothing out loud. So, the bachelor, that particular person, was only looking at the family, and the aunt and the children were talking with each other. So, when elderly people travel with the bus or somewhere by the train, most of the elderly people, their remarks regarding the children are don't do this, don't do that, don't open remove your hand out of the window, don't pull the window down, don't talk to stranger, and so many things. And mostly all the children, the universal question of all the children is why this, why that, why not like this, why not like that. The bachelor, that particular person, was looking at everything. He was patiently looking at everything. He didn't say anything very loudly. Don't, Cyril, don't, exclaimed the aunt as the small boy began smacking the cushions of the seat, producing a cloud of dust at each blow. Smacking means he started beating up the cushions of the seat, and there was a lot of dust around. And the aunt was saying, "Don't, Cyril, don't." So you can know that the name of the small boy is Cyril. The aunt was shouting at Cyril that don't, you cannot just start banging your hand on everywhere, smacking the cushions, because they were very dirty, and because of him blowing and smacking the cushions, there was a lot of dust. Come and look out of the window, she added. So instead of telling Cyril that don't do this, she said that come here, look at the window, look outside. The child moved reluctantly to the window. Why are those sheep being driven out of the field? He asked. So the child just moved. He didn't want to move, but somehow he had no option. So he just moved off to the window and he started asking the question, why are those sheep being driven out of the field? I expect that they are being driven to another field where there is more grass, said the aunt weakly. But there is lots of grass in that field, protested the boy. There's nothing else but grass there. Aunt, there's a lot of grass in that field. So when the boy asked the question to his aunt, where are the sheep, all the sheep going? Why are the people driving off the sheep of that particular field? He said, their aunt said that they are driven out because they want to eat more grass. But the boy said that there is a lot of grass in this field. Why you want all the sheep to go in the another field? She said that no, there is better grass. That's why. Perhaps the grass in the other field is better, suggested the aunt facetiously. That was a very silly answer. Maybe the sheep want to eat better grass, that's why they are going there, because they've smelled new type of grass. That's why they are going there. There is no point in telling the child what exactly the point is. Okay, they just trying to somehow take away his attention from that place to another. Why is it better? Came the swift, inevitable question. So why it is better? Came the swift, inevitable question. Inevitable means the question which was unavoidable. Because like children, like every other children, the children want to know more. The more you tell them the answer, there is another question to that. So when the aunt said, because the sheep are not interested in eating that particular grass, the boy said, why? But why the grass, all the types of grass are same, then sheep eat grass, then why is it not eating that grass, and why it wants to go to the other field to eat the grass? Oh, look at those cows, exclaimed the aunt. Nearly every field along the line had contained cows or bullocks, but she spoke as though she were drawing attention to a rarity. So, almost everywhere, means wherever the train was passing through, there were fields around the railway lines, and every field had either cows or bullocks. Means they were traveling through maybe a farm, maybe a village scene. So thus they saw that everything was there. Normally all the bullocks or the cows were doing their work, but the aunt wanted to show something very special about them. So she tried to speak, she tried to exclaim, because she was going to tell them a story. So like every other story, she spoke in a very different manner, in a very nice manner, beautiful manner. Why is the grass in the other field better? Persisted Cyril. But Cyril's question was still the same. Why is the grass from one particular field better than the other? What is the answer to this? He wants to know the answer. The frown on the bachelor's face was deepening to a scowl. Frown means the bachelor was being irritated by this, small questions. He started feeling irritated, because Cyril was only asking the same question again. Why is the grass not like this? Why does sheep want to eat that type of grass? Is not the grass green? Then why does the sheep want to go another way? So his face had started to have a frown, means he was getting angry, and he was only about to scowl, means he was about to scold the children. He was a hard, unsympathetic man, the aunt decided in her mind. She was utterly unable to come to any satisfactory decision about the grass in the other field. Looking at the reactions of the bachelor, that particular person, the aunt also started feeling that this particular person who is sitting in front of me is unsympathetic. He does not like children. He must be a hard man. He must have a hard heart. He's not good, he's a bad person. And she didn't have any satisfactory decision nor any answer to give to Cyril. She was confused. What should I say to Cyril? Means he will stop asking the question. The smaller girl created a diversion by beginning to recite on the road to Mandale. She only knew the first line, but she put her limited knowledge to the fullest possible use. She repeated the line over and over again in the dreamy but resolute and very audible voice. It seemed to be the bachelor as though someone had a bet with her that she could not repeat the line aloud 2000 times without stopping. So suddenly, when the girl saw that Cyril is asking a lot of questions and the aunt is suddenly getting angry, the bachelor is also losing his patience. The girl suddenly decides that I will do something else, means everybody's attention will be pulled to me, and she started singing. She starts singing on the road to Mandale, a particular type of song, and she knew only one line, okay, but she had that confidence. She said that if I knew one line, it is okay. So this is how children are. If you have traveled any time by the bus or any time by a public vehicle, maybe a bus, a train, you will see children, they only knew one line, okay, they know only one line, but they are continuously repeating it. So it felt that as if she was repeating that one particular line on the road to Mandale more than 2000 times, but in a very sweet voice. Audible means very sweet and nice voice. It seemed at the bachelor as though someone had a bet with her that she could not repeat the line aloud 2000 times without stopping. Whoever it was who had made the wager was likely to lose this bet. So the girl only could repeat one particular line, and she was just continuously repeating that particular line again and again and again. It felt like 2000 times she had repeated the same line. Come over here and listen to a story, said the aunt when the bachelor had looked twice at her. Now, suddenly the bachelor, that particular person who was a complete stranger to the family, thought in his mind that what is going on inside this compartment, because the particular boy and his aunt had already made a mess for him, and he was not happy with whatever they are doing, the mess they were making. And suddenly the aunt said to her that small girl, come here, I'm going to tell you a story. The children moved listlessly towards the aunt's end of the carriage. Evidently, her reputation as a storyteller did not rank high in their estimation. So the children felt that something, their aunt was going to tell them something new, maybe a story. And as a storyteller, she was very new to them. They didn't know whether their aunt could tell a nice story to them. In a low, confidential voice, interrupted at frequent intervals by loud, petulant questionings from her listeners, she began an unenterprising and a deplorably uninteresting story about a little girl who was good and made friends with everyone on account of her goodness and was finally saved from a mad bull by a number of rescuers who admired her moral character. So her story was about a little girl who was very good, who was very nice to people all around them, and she made a number of friends through her goodness, her good acts, good deeds, and she was finally saved by a mad bull, by a number of people who liked her particular attitude, who liked her. Wouldn't they have saved her if she hadn't been good? Demanded the bigger of the smaller girls. It was exactly the question that the bachelor had wanted to ask. So, what do you say? Uninterestingly, or without any notice, the bachelor also was listening to the storyteller, and he was also listening to the story of the little girl. Wouldn't they have saved her if she hadn't been good? This was the question which was asked by the smaller girls, Miss Bigger of the smaller girls. There were two smaller girls. Out of them, the elder girl asked this question to the old lady, that is the aunt, that if she hadn't been nice, or if she hadn't been good to the other people, would the people still save them? This was the exact question that the bachelor also wanted to ask. Well, yes, admitted the aunt lamely, but I don't think that they would run quite so fast to help her if they had not liked her much. It is the stupidest story I have ever heard, said the bigger of the smaller girls with immense conviction. I didn't listen after the first bit. It was so stupid, said Cyril. So, according to the eldest girls of the smaller girls, she said that it is a very stupid story. Why would anybody try to save somebody whom they like so much? The aunt said that because she was so nice to everybody, that's why the people ran very quickly to help her. If she wouldn't be nice, people would help her, still help her, but they wouldn't run as fast as they could. So I didn't listen after the first bit. It was so stupid, said Cyril. Cyril also said, this is such a stupid story. I didn't hear anything from the beginning. The smaller girl made no actual comment on the story, but she long also recommended a murmured repetition of her favorite line. You don't seem to be success as a storyteller, said the bachelor suddenly from this corner. So suddenly all the three children said that you are not a good storyteller, you are not very nice with storytelling, and suddenly this same particular line which was in the minds of the people, suddenly the bachelor said this, that your storytelling technique is very old, you do not know how to tell a story. The aunt bristled in instant defense at this unexpected attack. It is very difficult thing to tell stories that children can both understand and appreciate, she said stiffly. She said that this is not correct. You just cannot tell the people you do not know that you are not good storytellers. But it is very difficult. It is a very tricky thing if you want to tell stories to children, and if the story should be understood by the children, the children also should like the story. It's such a difficult task. Let's see if you can do one. It's a very difficult thing to tell stories that children can both understand and appreciate. Understand means if the children understand the language of the storyteller, if they really love the story, then that is a different thing. I don't agree with you, said the bachelor. Perhaps you would like to tell them a story, was the aunt's retort. So when the aunt thought that the bachelor was just making fun of her, she said to him, "Why don't you tell them a story? Let us see how you tell stories." "Tell us a story," demanded the bigger of the smaller girls. So the bachelor was challenged by the aunt that, "Why don't you tell my children a story?" So the bachelor said, "Okay." Once upon a time, began the bachelor, there was a little girl called Bertha who was extraordinarily good. The children, momentarily aroused interest, began at once to flicker. All stories seemed dreadfully alike, no matter who told them. So, this is the most famous line between all the stories. When I was also young, this particular type of beginning was similar to all the stories. Once upon a time, the bachelor started narrating the story about a little girl called Bertha, who was extraordinarily good. The children's momentarily aroused interest began at once to flicker. She did all that was told. She was always truthful. She kept her clothes clean, ate milk puddings as though they were jam tarts, learned her lessons perfectly, and was polite in her manners. Was she pretty? Asked the bigger of the smaller girls. Not as pretty as you any of you said The Bachelor, but she was horribly good. So when he started telling the story, he told the story, he narrated the story in the most nicest manner. Started saying that she always told the truth. She was a very nice girl. She always behaved in a polite manner. She liked to eat her whatever food was served to her. She always kept her clothes clean. This was actually like a moral story for them. One of the girls asked that was she pretty? Then the bachelor replied, yes, she was pretty, but not as pretty as you are. But she was really very good. There was a wave of reaction in favor of the story. The word horrible in connection with goodness was a novelty that commended itself. It seemed to introduce a ring of truth that was absent from the aunt's tale of infant life. So suddenly, this particular word horrible means actually very dirty, but when horrible is connected with goodness, it just increased the interest of the children regarding the story. Horribly good means she was extremely good, she was extremely nice. This particular line or this particular thing was absent in the aunt story. So this made the story, the half part of the story, very recommendable. The children started taking an interest in this. So here I am ending the first part of the story. In the next part, we shall be discussing the remaining half of the short story and also seeing at the question and answers of the story.